Welcome into the podcast. This is video number 1 of the Heavy Times podcast, presented by Buck Ventures and Buck Ventures the Woodsman. If you guys don't know what Buck Ventures is or Buck Ventures the Woodsman is, it is a Christian-run, Christian-driven, faith-based ministry where average people like myself who work blue-collar jobs go out and film their hunts and then send them in to Buck Ventures, and Buck Ventures then takes your video and you have a shot or an opportunity to make national television. So if anyone is ever interested in joining the outdoor industry or wants a way into the outdoor industry, this is how you're going to get it done. So tonight we're going to call Herbert and Paula Foskey from the Panhandle of Florida, and we're going to find out and listen to their testimony and who they are, where they're from, learn a little bit about some of our pro staff. So thank you guys again for tuning in. If you guys like the podcast, make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe. The podcast is going to be on YouTube and Spotify. Again, if you guys like it, please subscribe to the page. And if you have any interest in joining the pro staff, applications come out in early February, March of every year. Go to the BVO website and put your name down on the application, fill out the application, and send it in, and one of the members from the pro staff and staff of Buck Ventures will get in contact with you. So we're going to start this off with calling Herbert and Paula Foskey.
Hey, sir.
How's it going?
Oh, it's good.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
We're good. We're very good.
How
was
was
your
it?
trip back?
It was good. I mean,
Yes.
long drive. It was 13 and a half hours for us, so it's a little bit long drive, yeah. I mean, you guys have a long drive back to Panhandle too, yeah?
Yes, 13 and a half if we don't stop anywhere. And, of course, we had to eat and pee and all that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah. We were the same way, plus with the screaming baby for the last 2 hours, so I understand that one. So,
Yes.
I know this
So
is...
where are you guys?
We're in Northwest Ohio, so
Northwest.
right on the edge of Michigan and Indiana. We're about 20 minutes from Indiana and 15 minutes from Michigan. So we're as close to the other two states as possible. So kind of jumping into the first podcast here. Had this bright idea coming home. You know, there's a lot of people that don't get to share their stories and stuff on national television or through the Woodsman, and this would be just a better way for everybody to kind of connect, learn about each other, and kind of share our faith and where our journeys have kind of taken us and how we all ended up with the Woodsman. So kind of starting off, kind of tell us about you guys.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I mean, go for it. Whatever you guys
already recording and all that good stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Thank you for not telling me.
Listen, I had recorded the phone call and everything, so it, just kind of makes it more real. It's fine. It's just a conversation.
Hey, we're all about real.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they're just going to be able to hear you. They can't see you because I don't have enough technology to, screen record and enough space on my phone to then transfer it over. So the mic is just close to the phone so they can hear you guys kind of just talking and whatnot. But I do have the other camera on me, so not very good looking on this one.
The cool thing about the Woodsman is, I look at people and I try to imagine what they did, who they are, how they hunt, and what kind of job they had.
Yeah.
And sometimes that just doesn't fit with the person that you look at. And it's like, that dude's a lawyer, that dude's an accountant, that dude, I don't know how he even hunts in you. Stuff
Right.
like that. So you looking at Paula and I, what do you think we do for a living, or had done for a living? We just both retired.
Yeah, because I know what you do, Herbert. No, I don't know what you used to do.
Okay.
But I know what you do now. So
Yeah.
I have no idea what you guys used to do. So
I did 27 years in the Florida Department of Corrections. I was in
Oh,
prison.
really?
I put myself in prison for 27 years to work till I finally retired.
well, I'm a law enforcement officer, so I kind of get I put the people in prison. So you just got them after I got done dealing with them. So
Yeah, we got to watch them, and I just retired after 30 years with the Florida Department of Corrections.
Okay.
I started out as an LPN, went back to school, got my RN, and promoted all the way up to be the chief of nursing services for the whole state. So
oh wow.
my last 7 years, I was in central office and in an administrative capacity. So it's a different feeling because today is technically my first day in retired life.
Oh heck yeah! You're starting it out on a podcast. How's that?
Yeah.
That's
We
awesome.
got to get her to go to work in the shop out there because she got to produce if she wants to keep hunting.
So how did you end up getting into taxidermy after you retired in corrections? Like, what drove you to do taxidermy?
Well, we've always hunted. I mean,
Right.
what we're doing right now with the Woodsman, we just added a camera to it because we've always done it already.
Right.
And so when I retired, I was thinking, well, I want to do something. I just don't exactly know what. So I started just kind of interning, just working for free with a taxidermist locally to see if I kind of liked that. And I did.
Right.
Some of his techniques, I said, well, I could improve upon that. So I decided I'm going to taxidermy school. So I went to school for it, for birds and deer and small animals, and come out. And I was going to do about 40, maybe 50 a year just to pay for my hunting leases and things like that.
Right.
And man, it was like a rocket. It got out of control. I was at a full-time job. I was stressed. I was like, oh my gosh.
Right.
What am I doing? So we have backed it down some, but it's still full-time. I mean, I'm out there constantly, to get it done.
Right.
And I think I'm going to back it down a little bit more because I want to hunt a little more instead
Right.
of doing other people's deer. I like to put my own deer in my hand,
Right. Well, I mean, you're retired, so I think you get that right now, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, you spent a long enough time being in jail. I think it's time for you to be a little bit free, right?
Yeah, free bird. There you go.
So, I guess another question is like, how did you guys find the Woodsman? Because you guys are from the Panhandle of Florida. I'm from Northwest Ohio. How I found the Woodsman's probably different than how you found the Woodsman. So,
I just happened to see a post, and then I'm coming from prison life. Everything's skeptical. Everything's a scam. Everything's for secondary gain.
Correct.
That's just the nature of how you do after so much time. So you're kind of skeptical, but I wanted to look at it. I said that would be really cool. So I put an application in, and then I got in trouble. She can tell you she got mad at me because I didn't put one in for her, just me.
Yeah, I come home one day and he goes, so I did this thing, really didn't know what to expect, and they called me and they invited me to do this, and I said, you didn't include me because we do everything together.
Right.
This whole hunting thing, everything we do together, and so it really kind of shocked me. And he goes, well, I can call now. And when we got there for the first summit, I met Twala, and she goes, oh, yeah, you're the one that the husband got in trouble because he didn't include you on the first. Yeah, that's me. So she remembered right off the bat.
Yeah.
But it's been fun.
And we come in the first year, just like these guys from this last summit. I know they were sitting there kind of wide-eyed looking at it. And they're probably just like me thinking, is this legit? Is this for real? Somebody's fixing to ask me to write them a check to be a member or something.
Right,
They're trying to get some money out of me. Something's got to be a catch here. And there never was, but I still was kind of reserved the first year and just kind of watching.
Right.
And Paula jumps in. She starts doing social media stuff, and she just jumps right in. But Herbie didn't. He kind of sat back to watch. And
yeah.
it was legit. It's 100% for real. And the only thing I can tell anybody who's watching the podcast is give it a try. Look at it. It's legitimately a great group of people across the country that love God, love their family, and they love to hunt.
Oh, yeah.
It's a legit thing.
Can't forget fishing in there, too, because there's a lot of fishermen. So, a lot of fishermen and fishing ladies. It's 2024. What were you going to say, Paul? Sorry, I cut you off.
Well, I was going to say, how this kind of fit in is we had just started an outdoor ministry at our church.
Okay.
And we had just started a connect group to go with it. And so we kind of stepped out and did this, and at the same time, because we were already doing the outdoor ministry, it just kind of a natural fit to go together, because we really enjoy hunting. So in the outdoor ministry, we're taking people hunting that's never hunted before. I mean, one of the coolest stories is a couple that's in our class. We took them and their son hunting last season, not this past season, the season before. None of them had ever shot a deer. None of them had ever even been deer hunting before. The same day, all three of them were able, on their first shot, take a doe. The very first day. So the whole family had, an opportunity at the same time, and that was the coolest thing, to be able to take them. Members of our hunting club says, that ain't gonna happen ever again. So that was all God. So it was just fun.
I mean, God works in weird ways. And you guys came on 3 years ago, right?
Three summits, 2 full years now.
Correct.
We're starting our 3rd year.
Yeah, because Herbie, I think you stayed in my cabin the first year, to be honest with you. I think you were wearing a blue shirt, and you stayed down towards the end because you asked who snored. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I snore.
You the one needed that CPAP machine?
No, I did not need the CPAP, but I was down at the snoring end, and I said, I'm sorry, but yeah. Because I think we were all introducing ourselves, and I think you were the first one to be like, okay, out of all y'all, who snores? And then there was remember that one little room in the cabin where, and there was 2 beds in there, and that dude snuck in at 3:30 after the cornhole tournament, and everybody was basically getting up, and we were like, hey, somebody should probably wake him up and let him know that he's got to be in the auditorium in 20 minutes, man. But so I guess another question too, because obviously this is a faith-based ministry, that we're a part of. How did you guys? So obviously you're way more seasoned than I am. I'm 28 years old. I'm just starting out. My little family.
You just called us old.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
This weekend, you straight up
listen,
called us old.
Listen. Y'all are retired. Y'all have been around a lot longer than I have. Okay, I could be your kid. You know what I mean? So it's right for me to say. So, me, I grew up in church. Right, I grew up in church, and then I went to college, and I kind of fell away from church playing football, and I ended up getting hurt playing football, and ended up getting married right after college and going through a divorce. Some stuff happened, and ended up finding Haley, and we got back into church, and finding God, and stuff just started coming together. Now, what's your guys' walk with Christ like, or what has it been like, or have you guys always been in church? Have you guys always been involved, or how does that look for you guys?
Well, yeah, we both. I'm a preacher's kid, so I grew up in church, and then Paula as well. She grew up in church, but like a lot of people today, the story of the prodigal son in the Bible kind of fits us to a T, because we grew up knowing and being taught what we should do, what's right, what's wrong, and how to keep God centered in your life. And as you grow up and you start experiencing the world and you get drawn away, and that's kind of where our story goes, is we left what we knew was right to a point to conviction and getting drawn back to where we should be, and our marriage being on the rocks because we still don't have God. So there's just so many things that we were blessed, and praying people were there for us, and God's grace and God's mercy allowed us to be that prodigal story and come back to where we should be. In our Connect class in our outdoor ministry, I tell them I'm 56 years old, and there's a lot of my life I'm not proud of, and I know that I didn't please God the way I live. But from now until the last breath I take, I promise you it'll be 100% for Him, and I will do my best to please Him every day. Yeah.
Absolutely. You talked about, you said you went through a divorce. Herbie and I also went through a divorce, and throughout the years that we were away from from Christ, away from the church. We both credit a praying mama for keeping us between the ditches, sometimes literally. And the prodigal son story is one of my favorite stories because, we talk to people, and just recently we had had someone in our Sunday school class give their testimony because they almost had that Damascus Road experience kind of testimony, but whereas I don't. I was saved when I was young, and then grew up. Went to high school, and really it was in my middle to late 20s before I just went off the rails. And my story is the redemption story, the reconciliation part of God's love and God's mercy, because all throughout those years, I can think of times when I would sit there and knowing what I was doing was wrong, and I would say, I know God, I know I'm not where I'm at, I'm not where I'm supposed to be, and it was just by the grace of God that literally sometimes keeping me between the ditches was, I can look back and see that it was God's grace and mercy, knowing that one day I would be here. It's funny, him talking about being a preacher's kid. I remember him saying, that's not my life. That's not who I am. My dad's the preacher. I'm not a preacher, but I think his dad passed away in 2009, and I would love to see his face when this one gives his testimony now, and the times that he shares that 20 years ago neither one of us would have been doing this.
Well, one day you will see his face again, and you will be able to see it, and it doesn't mean that he's not watching you now, because we all know that he is. Just like everybody's got somebody that's watching them, man. Somebody's got that guardian angel.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it's going back to the straying away thing. I feel like this world just rips you away all the time, and especially being in a law enforcement community, like either corrections or being out there. I mean, you see the worst of the worst all the time. I mean, and that's all you see, and you get really jaded, and it's really hard to see outside of that. But my saving grace, honestly, has been this group, because they're always there for you. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember last year. I ended up getting into a situation at work where I had to discharge my firearm, and had to shoot somebody. And that's just, thinking about that, it's so easy just to stray and to go off the rails. And, having this support group and having people call and pray for you and reach out to you and be able to bring you back, and just not even give you reassurance, but just point you in the right direction of where to look. Because, I'm 28 years old and wasn't a preacher's kid, don't know how to just go and find the verses that I need for, the problems that I have, and having that support system to push me back towards that and to show me and teach me, I think it's really helped. I don't know if that's been something that you guys have noticed too, or...
Yeah, it's funny that, like I said, it was my late 20s, early 30s when my life kind of ran off the rail. It was kind of really both of our lives. And this Connect group that we have now has wound up. It wasn't planned to be a certain age group. It wasn't planned. It was intended for us to reach people who love outdoors and bring them in and say, hey, hunters can be Christians too. But the group has wound up being mostly couples who are our children's age now. Yeah, the age that we went off the rails.
We deal with you people all the time.
The age we went off the rails, and now we're seeing where we can identify with them and the struggles that they are having or that they have had, and we can say, hey, we see a bad thing going here because we've been there.
Right.
And it is like we have 20 children now. That's because we love every one of them like our children, and they literally are our children's age. We have a two 34-year-olds and a 33-year-old, and they're our new kids. We've adopted every one of them.
And talking on that, we just here recently was talking about that and talking about your circle matters. Just like with the Woodsman, just like with the FBC Outdoor Connect group and the outdoor ministry, your circle matters. It matters who you're conversing with, what you're sharing, what you're watching, what you're talking, what you're listening to, who supports you, who's praying for you, who are you praying for.
Right.
You know, it's as much about as giving as taking, and it's just a family unit.
Right.
And it's just kind of grown with the Woodsman. It's like, wow, this is a huge family unit. It's what we were already doing. It's just on a XXL scale, you know.
You aren't kidding.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That message that Noel gave Saturday, I don't know if you were there until lunch Saturday, it was a perfect, I thought it was a perfect ending for encouraging everyone to be that.
Yeah.
He talked about Aaron and her lifting up Moses's arms and under the work burden, the weight of that burden he was carrying. And that's what we should be doing for each other. And it's to us, it's not been so evident as when we started with this class. And then, have how each one of us, every day we're not 100%. I'm not 100%. He's not 100%. Somebody in that class or in this group, the Woodsman, somebody every day needs somebody to hold their arms up because they're struggling in their walk. And that's how we come together. We come side by side and encourage each other and hold each other accountable and pray for each other, lift each other up. And this group has been, like Herbie said, it's great to watch the prayers just flow when somebody needs something, and that's why we have that in a mini scale in our Connect group, but it's great to be a part of that group. Well,
and you guys made a huge jump this year. You now are leaders, and you guys don't get off social media, obviously, reaching 11,000 some odd people or something like that.
So, good story about that. I will blame it on Jeff Dunker if you like a Jeff Dunker story. So last year, I was, like I said at the beginning of this, a little skeptical, still watching, make sure everybody's legit, and it is what it is. And at the summit last year, we had top producers, and I had a top producer tag, but I ain't done squat. I didn't do squat. I knew that. I knew I didn't. So basically, I rode on Paula's coattails, because she did. She done some media, social media stuff, and won a few things on it. So at the end of the summit, on Sunday, Jeff goes to the back and he's talking to everybody and taking pictures and that sort of thing. So we went back there and, just take a picture and tell him, we enjoyed it. And somehow the conversation got on Paula toting Herbie. He said, you had a green tag because Paula toted you, and he started laughing and pointing at me and, wait a minute. I'm talking about me getting red-faced. He's just like, she toted you? Oh, my goodness. And I said, So on the 13-and-a-half-hour ride home, I was plotting and planning, and it wasn't happening again, buddy. I'm going to tell you what. So Jeff come down to our church in August. We had a great outdoors event, and he was a speaker. So he spoke on it, whatever. I picked him up at the airport, and we had this conversation, and he didn't remember it. I mean, he has worse memory. I'm telling you. He didn't remember it.
Well, so hey, you got to watch what you say here, because he's about your age, if not a little bit younger. Or a little bit older.
Watching this, you got a terrible memory. But he was laughing. Then he was laughing again. I just like, he's stirring a fire. So when we walked in this year, I knew I had done. Ain't nobody told me this year. And I walked on stage for the first award, I think. And he whispers in my ear, because I don't think you could hear it on the microphone. Did Paula told you this year? Something. Oh, mercy. We were intentional.
Yeah.
We worked hard. So.
Yeah, you guys did a great job. I mean, there's a lot of, you guys and Rob Taylor, we all came on at the same time. We came on 3 years ago. And to see you guys, do what you did, like we realized on the way home, me and Haley, we were talking, again, 13-hour drive gives you a lot, let your brain think, where we kind of got lazy with our film last year because last year, I had a top producer tag too. And I had a top producer tag. Haley didn't. Haley kind of carried me. I mean, well, let's give some backstory here. Haley, being from Ontario, they have way cooler animals to go hunt than here in Ohio, And, Whitney Reed, God bless her, gave us a bow the first year. That bow that she won, she gifted Haley that Iwasaki Gen 2. Well, Haley's like, you know what? I'm just going to go kill a black bear at 10 yards with a bow. And, of course, I'm sitting there filming it. And, so she kills this black bear. Fast forward to November, I end up killing a deer. And this deer, quite a large buck, I made a horrible shot. I put it right in his rump. And it just happened to cut the artery in his back leg, and he went 35 yards and piled up. So, I mean, the running joke last year was, oh, yeah, I can hit a black bear on the walk, and you can't even hit a deer that's sitting still, And I hit the deer, and he died, and it wasn't like a painful death. Like, he died pretty quick, but I guess I just shoot at the butt end of the deer and it can still kill him. I don't know. But on the way home, we were talking and, seeing everybody and how they've kind of grown kind of gave us a little bit of inspiration. And I looked at her and I said, well, they have a Buck Ventures podcast. Somebody should just do one for the woodsmen, because we have so many stories and our lives are completely different. Somebody should document, kind of like who we are and what makes us special. So I'm like, well, I shouldn't wait for somebody. I should just try and do it. Now, whether this actually takes off or not, that's a different story. But, I was like, you know what, we're going to try it. And
I think it's a cool idea.
I think it's cool too. Very good.
I mean, as soon as I posted it in the Buck Ventures page, everybody's like liking on it and commenting on it. I'm like, okay, I guess it was a good idea. It wasn't so out there, because you kind of get a little delirious on those long drives, kind of. But so
we get with several of those long drives to make plans.
Oh yeah, and then you get home and life hits you, it like smacks you in the face. So, so kind of talking about last season. How did last season go for y'all? Tell us about your season. Tell us about, what happened.
Apparently we can do social media and we stink at deer hunting. We don't know nothing about deer hunting. No, we had some great chances this year, and we had some very impatient moments this year. It started off with a bang. We were bow hunting. I was filming and she was bow hunting. We was with Spikes and Spurs in Missouri.
Okay.
First morning, first half hour, got a 150 on her. I mean, he split G2s. It's frosty. He's breathing smoke. I'm running camera. I've got him walking in. He just needs to take a step, and she just laid a smack on him. And I'm like, draw, shoot, and the deer walks off. I was like, oh, that was disappointing.
Yeah, he's at 28 yards, and from where I'm at, I'm seeing limbs, and I'm just like, I don't want to risk a bad shot.
Correct.
He's sitting there going, he ain't saying nothing to me, but I can feel him go kind of like tense behind me. Yeah, and the deer, instead of taking that one step, he was working a scrape, 28 yards right in front of me, and instead of taking that one step ahead, he made an about face, went right to the right, and went straight ahead of us.
Same day. We saw a few other little bucks that evening just before dark, because we said all day during rut.
Right.
Down over the draw down in the bottom, I see white antlers coming through there. And I said, ooh, that's a good buck. Oh, that's a good buck. She said, call to him, call. So I did a snort wheeze. He stopped, and we lost sight of him. I did another snort wheeze. We're looking, because he's probably 70 yards, 75 yards out from us. And nothing. And then Paula says, he's behind us. I said, God! Circled around silently. So there's this big tree So I'm just like some kind of crazy man, just bending the camera around the tree behind me because trying to get something.
Right.
She can't draw and shoot because the bow hanger's in the way, put them behind her head. So it was that kind of year.
Yeah.
That kind of year. And then we have a farm in Missouri, so we went to gun hunt when gun season come in. And we're sitting there and we're bored and we're talking about how, to stop a deer or doing stupid videos and things like that, because ain't nothing happened. All of a sudden there's a buck chasing a doe across the field at about 120 yards or so.
Yeah, about 130.
Buck, stop him. So I grabbed the grunt. I grunted to him and he stops. And then I'm trying to get the camera over to get him because we're sitting in a blind, so I'm trying to get the camera over.
Yeah. He
takes off again. She says, stop him. So I did a snort wheeze. He stops. I pull the camera over. I'm about 12 o'clock position, fixing to come down. And before I come down, boom!
Oh.
I said, okay, well, he won't be on camera. So I was like, oh, man.
Well,
anyway.
Either way, I mean, it sounded like y'all had a pretty decent year. At least the memories are what matters the most.
We enjoy hunting together, though. We have a ball. We have a blast.
Yeah.
It's cool when you're married to your best friend. And everything you do is a great time.
I can feel that because Haley and I do everything together. So, and this year it's going to change a little bit where we're both going to have to self-film, with having a little one. So, for all y'all who don't know, Haley and I had a beautiful little girl 2 months ago. Her name's Ensley. And, Haley ended up killing a real good buck. That's actually a story that I wish she would come down here and tell, but she's doesn't want to do the podcast for whatever reason. So, but she wants to see how it works first. So I'll kind of give you guys an idea. She's 6.5 months pregnant, goes out and self-films a 132.5-inch buck that had gotten hit by a car. She grunted him in, and she ended up blasting him at 25 yards. 6.5 months pregnant. So, it's kind of, her season was great. My season, we don't want to talk about my season. It was a whole bunch of horseshoes and hand grenades with me. Close but no cigar. So.
Yeah. That's why we do it. It's a challenge. It's a challenge.
100%. I didn't get into filming until 2 years ago. Literally bought, what they tell you, don't go out and go spend all this money and go into credit card debt to film.
Right.
We didn't quite listen.
It's easy to do. It's when you come back and you want to be, sponsor loyal, and so you come in, you buy a bow, and then the next year you buy a crossbow, and then boom, then you can't use it anymore.
Right.
And I absolutely love my Iwasaki bow, so I was really disappointed about that. So.
Same with Haley.
We're growing. We're going to try to do what Jeff talked about making that decision ahead of time. I killed 2 turkeys with my crossbow this past year. Didn't get near one of them on film because I had to make a decision. Am I going to try to film this rascal or shoot him?
Right.
I said, I want the turkeys,
Right.
This year we're going to try to be grown-ups and dedicate to either get it on film or don't shoot it.
Right. Well, and that's kind of how
we have missed some good opportunities with the camera.
Yep.
Oh man, I can't tell you. The first year, Haley was getting so upset with me because Haley didn't end up killing a deer, but she shot a bear. Like that should count for at least one or two deer. She shot a bear, and so. She would have the bow, and it would just be, just too dark. But there's a shooter standing right in front of us. She's like, I'm going to let it go. And I'm like, no. We said we were going to get it on camera. We can't go back now. We can't just be you talk about one thing, and then you get out there and you get in the heat of it, and then it's like, yeah, screw that. No. So I'm the voice of reason in her ear. Yeah, I caught a lot of flack for that last year, especially because I ended up killing one of the shooters, and she didn't. So, but this year it was the opposite. I would be the one. I had an opportunity to go out and film, and I would get an opportunity on a buck, but he would hang up at 60 yards, and I'm not comfortable shooting past 50 with my bow, and he would hang up, and I didn't have somebody there to run the camera, so I'm scrambling all over the place, and I stuck to it. You get it on film. or don't kill them. That's just how it's going to be. And, I could have killed a ton of doe and just couldn't get the right shot. I couldn't get the right film and ended up missing a doe. And we don't want to talk about that, but had sent that in too. It's wonderful.
Well, it's going to be tough, but we're going to stick to it because we're actually going to Texas on a mule deer hunt. She gets to shoot a mule deer or either a management elk in West Texas. So we're going to stick to it. We either get it on film or we ain't going to shoot it. So we'll see.
Well, go with the elk. It's bigger.
Yeah.
Well, these management elk or the mule deer are actually management mule deer, and
they're huge.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that a management elk is going to be.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Well, either way, have fun with it.
Oh yeah.
Like you guys.
We've already been out there. Took her 2 years ago. She killed an all-dad. So we've already been in those little desert mountains. So it's a cool place.
Yeah.
I've never been that way. I went to Casey Kenny's place just south of Dallas there this last year after the summit. And killed a pig with my dad. So we're gonna go back next year and kill some more pigs off his place because they're just tearing it all up. 80 acres there in Jewett. And just tearing it all up and scaring his deer out of there. So trying to help him with his deer. But
we have a lot of hogs on our Alabama lease, and they, especially during the summertime, hunting season, they get real nocturnal.
Yeah.
So, which kind of helps with the deer because if they're coming in at night, the deer's coming in at the daytime.
Right.
So,
now, so you guys are in the Panhandle. You talked about hunting and going different places. Do you guys have stuff there in Florida that you guys hunt and manage, or do you guys just do public? Do you lease? Do you own? Kind of give us some insight on that.
You talking about hunting down here?
Hunting, whatever you guys hunt. Kind of give us an idea of
being in the prison system, I was in the Panhandle, so I got moved around to different prisons and different places. And we started hunting up in Alabama because we're close to the Alabama line. We have a Florida address, but we're less than 4 miles, something like that, from the Alabama line.
Okay.
So as I moved around to different prisons, 1 year we hunted in South Carolina. That was we got in a club and went up there and hunted. And when you work with the prison system, you're on call so much, you're having to move. So trying to run food plots and your own lease and that sort of thing. So that's where the club comes in, and it's just so much easier where everybody comes together and you plan all the food plots and running feeders and all that kind of stuff. So we've always hunted in Alabama for the last 10 years probably. So about an hour and 20 minutes from here, we got a 4,500 acre lease that we're 22 of us all share together, and we all have stands and we plant food plots, and that's where we do a lot of the antibiotic grow stuff that we put in those plots and just that kind of stuff and hunting off of there. But we've got addicted to the Midwest, man. Oh gosh, I love the Midwest. And we did, just out of the blue, we did a public land hunt in northeast Missouri one time. We just picked a place, a public land, and we drove up there not knowing anything. And 2 of the 4 of us killed really good bucks. The biggest one was like a 154 off of public land. I'm thinking, holy cow, I'm going to hunt public land some more. So, yeah, we started and we gun hunted that first year. We bow hunted the next year. Then we got into like a Midwest hunting club that had multiple farms. And you can hunt the farms that they have leased. So we did that for a year, killed some pretty good deer. And then I just kind of wanted my own leases. So we started leasing in Missouri, and I still have that desire, that drive to own something. I want to be up there. I want to be up there more. So we started looking at buying a lot and doing one of those self-built cabins, just turning one of those buildings into a cabin, hunting cabin, that sort of thing. So I did just across the Iowa line in southeast Iowa, actually near where Lee and Tiffany is at. We bought a piece of property. It was a lot. We were going to put one of those cabins on it. So as we were pricing the cabins, what it was going to cost to put it on it, finish it, and the whole 9 yards, another piece of property in the same little town of 200 people come up for sale. It had a building that they were using for an office. It had hardwood floors and sheetrock walls. It was nice. And it was going to be cheaper to buy that than to put a little cabin on there. So we bought it. We put bathroom and a kitchen in there. We're fixing to do an addition to it. We hooked up showers and water, so we hunt out of that. So we drive over to Missouri to hunt the Missouri farms, and when we get drawn, we hunt to Iowa. farms. So
That's
this year
nice.
we have 5 preference points going into Iowa. So fingers crossed we get drawn for a bow tag this year.
That would be great. Just hit up Noel. Just to go hunt his places. It's not like he needs to shoot another big deer or anything.
Exactly.
We got 2 good leases in Iowa that's got some. Well, one of them we've had for 3 years, so no one has hunted that for 3 years.
For 3 years, that's got to be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this other one we've had for 2 years, so it's been, and we got some good deer on it. So.
Yeah. So, with the Iowa, kind of explain the Iowa draw system, because I'm not very, in tune with the Iowa stuff.
So in Iowa, the first weekend in May, which is coming up next weekend, you can buy your preference points, or you can put in for a tag. You got the bow season you can put in for. You got 2 shotgun season and late muzzleloader that you can put in for. So you don't have to buy the tag like you do Kansas, I think. I don't know if Kansas you can buy preference points or not, but I know Iowa you can buy just the point and you don't have to put in for a tag if you don't choose to. Or you can put in for the tag, and then they'll take the preference point money out and send the rest of it back to you.
Okay.
So we have hunted Iowa how many times? 2 times in the last 5-6 years. The first time we went in 3 of us together with 1 preference point and got drawn for late muzzleloader.
Okay.
So the 3 of us did it as a group, and we got drawn, and we late muzzleloader hunted. The next year, just Paula and I put